This is Regina Davis, NARUC's Director of Communications and Public Affairs, and we're in downtown Washington, D.C. at NARUC's Winter Policy Summit. And joining us this afternoon is Steve Mitnick, who is the Editor-in-Chief and Publisher of Public Utilities Fortnightly. Welcome.
Oh, thank you, Regina. Thanks for having me over.
And thank you for your ongoing support of our utility commissions and everything we do in the regulatory space. So, tell us what's new at Public Utilities Fortnightly. I understand that you guys had a terrific lunch yesterday.
The first day luncheon, the State of State Regulation luncheon, and Thomas Edison's birthday celebration. Even though Thomas Edison's birthday is today, but the luncheon was the day before, so we kind of...
Well, you still got the celebration
close
in.
enough.
Yes, close enough.
And what everybody most remembers, I think, from the luncheon was the Thomas Edison birthday cupcakes. There were, I think, about 200 vanilla or chocolate. I think the chocolates went first.
Wow.
But
I'm not surprised.
We had, I think, about 225 people at the luncheon, and we had a great panel. We had Chair Willie Phillips from the D.C. Public Service Commission. Mm-hmm. He's tremendous fun. Everybody loves Willie. We had Vice Chair Beth Trumbold, who's one of the smartest people in utility regulation. I know there's a lot of competition. She's really great. We had two people from the regulated utilities. Mm-hmm. Calvin Butler, who's head of CEO. He's the CEO of Exelon Utilities. Yes. I kept joking that it was a really small utility, but Exelon's a pretty big utility.
Yeah, it's pretty big.
And then Ralph LaRosa, always fun. He's the COO of PSEG, the big utility in New Jersey. So it was a great panel. The moderator, I'm trying to remember who that was. Oh, yeah, it was me. And so we had a lot of fun. We had a great discussion about how is state regulation doing with all the changes going on? Mm-hmm. What is some of the tweakings that are happening now to modernize and keep up with everything? And then where is state regulation going? Will it be the same? How it might transform by 2030 or so?
Wow. Seems like you had a packed agenda for that lunchtime conversation.
We did, and I had a special thing to show in honor of Thomas Edison. Public Utilities Fortnightly has acquired a number of really historical documents on the history of utility regulation and utilities. And this one was Thomas Edison's first detail of his invention of the light bulb and his plans for power plants, distribution systems, electric meters. He thought we should have electric elevators,
wow,
and sewing machines, and factories.
Oh my gosh!
So I showed that. It's from February of 1880.
So where is that document now? Where is it now?
Yeah, so we have a number of documents in our archives. We have one of the other favorite things that we've acquired is the first, when Franklin Roosevelt came into office. Right before that, the Federal Trade Commission tried to map all the interlocking directorates of the utilities, and then soon after there was the 1935 Federal Power Act and the Public Utility Holding Company Act, because the public and the president was concerned about monopoly utilities and how they could be regulated federally versus state. So that's another one of our favorite documents, and we have a bunch of those.
Wow, so you had Chairman Phillips on the panel from DC, and I believe that you mentioned to me earlier that when you started going across the country to visit the different state commissions, that you started out in DC.
Yes, because we had this idea that the mission of Public Utilities Fortnightly is really partly to highlight and celebrate the wonderful people in our industry in utility and utility regulation and policy. So I had the idea to and we got together with the Public Service Commission, and we called it a day at the DC Public Service Commission. It was so much fun to not only talk with the commissioners, but especially the staff, because they do all this work,
sure.
and nobody hears about it. And we had conversations about their dedication to public service. What do they find most rewarding? How do they explain to their friends and relatives, what is a public service commission? What do we do?
Yes, what do you do?
And from there, we went to Pennsylvania, a day at the Pennsylvania PUC, California, and now I think we've done almost 25 of these. And for the team at Public Utilities Fortnightly, this is the most fun thing to do.
I'm sure.
When you go to the Florida Commission or the North Carolina Commission or Michigan or whatever, the people love you, having you there and talking about getting their stories out, and how to, when you have, they often are not well staffed. So how do you work together when you have 3 big cases at the same time? How do you recruit the best talent? Because maybe public service commissions don't pay as much as Google or Apple.
Right.
How do you get these young people in?
Right.
And they're inspiring stories about the frontline people that have to deal with consumer complaints, the wonderful staffers and commissioners that go on the international programs with NARUC.
Yes, we appreciate it.
I know, and so it's so much fun, and we've got some coming up that are really great.
Yes, now can you give us a preview of where you're headed next?
Yeah, now we have a little unequal decision-making back on the PUF team, because I got to go to the Hawaiian PUC.
Tough job.
Whereas Lori Burkhart and Alexandra Revelle, they went to beautiful Trenton to do the New Jersey Board of Public Utilities. But both of them were really tremendous fun. And then they're heading out to Olympia, Washington, to go to the Great Commission of Washington State. And then we've been invited, we're scheduling the South Carolina Commission.
Oh, that's great.
And we definitely wanted to have Commissioner Butch Howard in there before his term.
Oh, please get him in. He's
Everybody
wonderful.
loves him. Wisconsin, we had Wisconsin scheduled, and then one of the commissioners retired early, so they're in the process of replacing, and then Chair Vach is going to have us into Wisconsin, and then I guess we'll be going to a number of places afterwards. We have a long list.
It seems like it. So you've gone to all these different state utility commissions, and what has been a common theme or thread that you've noticed across the board?
So first of all is tremendous dedication. And it's amazing how hard folks work. They have to do a huge amount of reading. And it's not necessarily maybe the most fun in that regard, but the dedication, for example, at almost every commission, they're responsible for gas pipeline safety.
Yes.
And bad things can happen if there's not, and they get some funding from the federal government under PHMSA. Those people do tremendous work protecting their communities, their families, and they love doing that work. They're so dedicated. They won't leave a stone unturned. I mentioned the consumer people, and when you go and you talk to people at Georgia Commission or Florida or North Carolina, Ohio, whatever, and they tell you the story, sometimes consumers are a little angry about
sure.
this or that.
I've witnessed that because I came from the Maryland Public Service Commission
you did.
before coming to NARUC, and I've been at some of those public hearings, and they can become very impassioned.
And yet, they're, I don't know, maybe they take a couple of extra Advil every once in a while, but the fact that someone is willing to listen to the public, and often they do amazing things. Maybe a family can't pay their bill.
Right.
They go to the utility maybe there was a difference of opinion, or they work it out, and then the utility says, okay, well, let's do it. And then you have changed the life of a family, and it's just glorious. And of course, they do some of the big issues too, policy, this big rate cases, grid modernization, and they love doing their work. They were inspired to do their work. Some of the interaction when we talk to them between the commissioners and staff,
yes,
is really wonderful because they both love each other, both groups. Commissioners get more of the publicity, and
right,
and the staff gets lauded every once in a while. They do get in Public Utilities Fortnightly.
Well, thank you so much for all of your hard work, all of your efforts for showcasing what's going on in our states, and for your ardent enthusiasm for the state of public utilities in the United States.
Yeah, we're waiting for, I think, this summer in Boston, right?
Yes, that's right.
Let's go.
We're ready.
Good.